Hello and welcome to all. In today's session, we will see top 20 API testing interview questions. Okay, to understand the basic concepts and the interview questions, so we have considered the login features. Okay, so this is the login feature screen. Okay, when user enter the valid username, valid password, click on the login, we are going to display the welcome screen. Okay, so we'll start with the what is an API. An API is the application programming interface. It allows communication between the two softwares. We can say here like client and the server or the backend. Okay. So now if we consider the login screen, then here like when user clicks the login button, okay, you send the request to the backend. Okay, and that request we are sending like post method API slash login. Okay, and the request payload we need to provide the valid username, valid password. Okay, by default, remember me checkbox is a false. Okay, we are sending this payload to server, and then we are getting a response. Okay, like as I mentioned here, API is nothing but the application programming interface. It allows the communication between the client and the server. Okay, then what is an API testing? API testing involves validating the functionality. Okay, it's also validating the status code. Okay, what is my status code? Whether it's a 200. Okay, we got the response correct. Then response structure. What is the response structure? Okay, then it's also verifying the authentication. Then error handling, security, and the performance. So as part of API testing, we need to do all this testing. Okay, like here we have mentioned the scenario like if we user enter the valid username password we are expecting 200. Okay, if user enter the wrong password, okay, or empty username, then we are expecting 401 unauthorized, okay, authentication error, okay, or 400 bad request. Okay, then next, what are HTTP methods? Okay, like here we'll see uh, first method is a get, it's fetch the data, okay, fetch profile after login. Then post method, like if in case we need to create a username, okay, then we can use the post method. Create or authenticate, login uses post method. Okay, then put, like if you want to update the data, then we can use the put method. Then patch method, okay, if you want to update the partial update, okay, like if you want to update only email or password, then you can use the patch method. Okay, if in case we want to delete the or remove the data, then we can use the delete method. Okay, so as part of API testing, when we are doing a API testing verification, we need to work on all these methods: get, post, put, patch, and delete. And this is the, you can see, post API call. Okay, then what is a payload? Payload is nothing but the body content sent in the request. Like here you can see this is called the payload. When I want to send a request to server, then I need to provide in JSON format. Okay, so since we are using the RESTful API, so we need to provide in JSON format. Okay, like here you can see username. This is string format. Password it is string format. Remember it's a boolean. Okay, so we'll see all these details. Okay, uh, and this is the login payload. Okay, then what is then authentication? Authentication verifies user identity using credentials. Here you can see it's gets the token and the user ID. Okay. Then what is authorization? Authorization check the user permission. Okay. If logged in user's role, what is that role? If role is a admin, then it will display the dashboard. If role is not a admin, okay, then it will respond or will get the response 403 that the forbidden. Okay, since this is a my user normal user, okay, and when we send the request, okay, like using get, okay, we got the response 403. Okay, we'll see more details what is the exact difference between the authentication authorization in next slide. Okay, okay, what is the different status codes we have used when we are doing the API testing? Okay, here you can see 200, that means success, correct credentials. 201 means created. Okay, then 400 means bad request. Okay, 401 means unauthorized. Then 403 is forbidden. 429 means too many request limit exceeds. Okay, like as part of our login screen or login feature, like if we have requirements, like if user try to more than 5 attempts, okay, for 6 attempt we should give the this response, like 299 status code, that means too many requests, and 500 means server error. Okay, so these all are the standard status code. Okay, then next we'll see what are the headers. Okay, headers are the common headers. Okay, it's contain type. Okay, and format is the application JSON. Then it's also accept the application JSON, and authorization headers after the login. Okay, so here we give the example. Okay, so when authentication is happen, okay, then next we are going to log in it authorization, and it is validating the token. Okay, then what is the JSON schema validation? Okay, JSON schema validation is nothing but it response instruction in correct format. Like as I mentioned, token it should be in string format, then expires in number format, user ID is in number format. Okay, if it's in different format, then it will give the error message in response. Okay, what are the query parameters and the path parameters? Okay, so here you can see query parameter. Like if you see here path parameter, it gives the get response, where the query parameter it's apply the filters. Here you can see the role is equal to admin. Okay, whereas the path parameter is simply giving the user ID. Okay, and login credential go in payload, not in URL. Okay, so for login credential we need to provide the payload. Okay, then like how do you test a login API manually? Okay, so here we have find out the some manual test cases. Okay, like a valid username and valid password. Then our expectation 200. Okay, okay, 200 means okay status and token returned. Okay, if user enter the valid username, invalid password, then 401. Okay, if user enter the invalid username or the blank username, blank password, click on the login button, then we are sending the response 400. That is nothing but the bad request. Okay, then as a part of security, okay, if we will also try. Okay, we'll provide the SQL injection, like this will put the or is equal to. Okay, then it should return the 400. Okay, then we'll also see what happen if remember me. Okay, since that is checkbox, what will happen if I send a true, and what will happen if I send a false. Okay, then here we'll also try 5 wrong attempts for security purpose. Okay, then it should return 429, too many requests. Okay, and log in with the special characters. Okay, we'll also validate it. Then what should it return? Okay, and also like performance perspective, we'll also see like what are the request and response. Okay, it should come less than like 2 seconds. Okay, it's as per our requirement. Okay, we'll also cover this test case as well. Okay. Okay. So next question is what is difference between the SOAP and the REST API? Okay. So REST API is the most widely used API in modern applications. Okay. So if your login API is SOAP based, okay, then how we'll test it? First, we need to validate the XML, then validate WSDL contract. Okay, and we need to use the SOAP UI instead of the Postman. Okay, like if we are using the REST API, then we need to use the Postman, we can use it. Okay, now here I have mentioned if you are using the REST based, then we are validating JSON, and we need to validate the status code like 200, 400, 401, and we also need to test the rate limiting. Okay, and here like if in case we are migrating from SOAP to REST, okay, then first we need to understand the JSON instead of XML. Then we also need to understand the status code instead of the SOAP things. Then we will use the Postman instead of SOAP UI, and obvious REST is a token-based authentication. We need to understand it. Okay, so here next question is what is a Postman? Postman is a tool to test the API manually and automate the basic test. Okay, so basic verification we can do it like pm.test, then status is okay. Okay, then we'll get the response to have status 200, then it will pass. Okay. Then what is the response time? Okay, login API should respond within the less than 2 seconds. Okay, so this is our requirement. Okay, if slow, then user experience becomes poor. Okay, we also need to verify as part of the API verification. Okay, what is the response time? Okay, explain rate limiting. Okay, like as part of our security testing, okay, maximum 5 login attempts per minute. Okay, then after limit, we should return the 429 too many request. Okay, this is for the security purpose. Okay, like we'll see what is the difference between the authentication and the authorization. Okay, so here we can say authentication verifies who the user is. It confirms the user identity using the credentials such as username, password, email, OTP, token, API key. Okay, and this is the post request API slash login, and here you can see this is the payload username and password. And then if credentials are correct, API returns a token and responses like this way token and the user ID, and you are now authenticated. Next is authorization. Okay, authorization verifies what the user is allowed to do. Okay, it controls the permission after the authentication. Okay, so authorization like role is equal to normal user. Okay, and if user tries like admin dashboard, okay, then we should return the 403 forbidden access. The user is authenticated but not authorized. Okay, so first we are doing authentication, then we are doing the authorization. Okay. So authentication confirms the user identity, login things. Authorization checks the user permission. That is nothing but the access control. Okay. So login API performs the authentication while access to specific resources depends on the authorization. Okay. So here I gave the in short authentication is the login. Okay. Authorization related to permissions. Okay. Next is the like how we can do the security testing for login API. Okay, we'll do the security testing like simply SQL ingesting the things, JSON manipulation. Then we'll also verify the token expiry. Then no credentials in URL. So when we are sending the request, we'll verify whether we can see the credentials like username or the password. Okay, then sensitive keys not be visible when server is responding. Okay, or when we are sending request to server, okay, sensitive information should not be visible. Okay, and here as I mentioned like SQL ingestion we can use this way admin or 1 is equal to 1. Okay, and it should be blocked, all these things should be blocked. Okay, then last question is what is a swagger. Okay, so swagger is nothing but is login documentation. Okay, it shows the required fields, it shows the request body, it shows the response sample and the status code. Okay, and after that we can enter all these details. Okay, and this is the API and request body like it is showing the username is in string, password is in string, remember me is in boolean. Okay, so basically swagger using the swagger we can do the API test, manual API testing as well. Okay, and yeah, like as I mentioned here swagger it's useful for the login documentation for the API, and all these details are available in Swagger. Okay. So these all are the top 20 API interview questions. Okay. If in case you have any questions or queries, please let me know. Thank you.